On today's Deep into Ducalis.io, the biggest thing we saw over and over in what we read was people just being frustrated with information overload, ideas, bug reports, new feature requests. They're coming at you from every direction, right? Slack, email chains that are like a mile long, individual tickets in Jira.
Yeah.
It's just impossible to actually see what matters most.
Yeah, and then what happens? How do people usually prioritize stuff?
Whoever shouts the
Or
loudest.
just like a gut feeling? Basically, yeah. And then trying to explain to everyone why we're working on this and not that. Forget it.
We'll break down the basics of Ducalis and how it can bring like so much more clarity and efficiency to your projects.
Yep. Like when you're trying to get feedback from everywhere.
Yeah.
And then you got to figure out what's actually important and then somehow keep everyone on the same page about, priorities.
Right.
First, you get a really clear picture of what your team actually cares about. Like, what are the priorities?
You can actually see them all laid out in one place.
Exactly. And second, you understand why those priorities are what they are because you can see all the discussions, the evaluations, the criteria, all that.
Transparency is key.
Huge. Third, you see how your feedback actually makes a difference. Whether you submitted an idea or just voted on one, you can follow its progress, see it move through the pipeline.
That makes people feel good, like they're being heard.
For sure. And then fourth, no more information overload. You're not drowning in emails and messages. You can just focus on the stuff that matters.
Cut through the noise.
Yep. And then finally, you get those aha moments. You see how everything connects. You see the journey from an idea to a prioritized task to actually getting built. It gives you that big picture view that you just can't get from spreadsheets and jumping between tools.
So how do we get started? One of the first things I keep seeing with Ducalis is these voting boards.
Right.
What are those all about? Can we unpack that a little?
Yeah. So voting boards are basically a dedicated space for your team, for your users, whoever. And it's where they can share ideas and make requests, but it's all structured, right? So instead of random suggestions popping up everywhere, everyone knows exactly where to go to give their input, whether it's a new feature they want or a bug they found.
Got it. So it's not just like a free-for-all, like anyone can just throw anything in there.
No. You have control. Ducalis gives you a ton of options to customize how these boards actually work.
Okay.
Like you can customize the voting scales, right? Maybe you just want a simple upvote.
To get more detailed feedback.
Exactly. And you can even tweak the questions that get asked when someone's submitting an idea, so you get all the info you need right up front.
Well, that's smart. Okay, so what about privacy? Because you might have internal teams, you might have clients, and you don't want everyone seeing everything, right?
Super important point. Ducalis has got you covered there. They've got really good privacy settings. You can decide exactly who sees what on each board.
Okay.
For example, one user, Wendy K., they said they have a public ideas board for all their customers, but then they also have a private bugs board just for their internal QA team.
So the right people see the right stuff.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so now you've got all these ideas pouring in. How do you actually manage them? Turn them into something you can work with?
So Ducalis has some really helpful tools for that. Like when someone starts typing in an idea, the system can actually suggest similar ideas that have already been submitted, so you don't get a bunch of duplicates.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, keeps things organized. You can also clean up the descriptions. If something's not clear, you can link an idea to tasks that are already in your workflow, or you can just move it straight into your backlog to look at later.
Nice. And does it play well with other tools, like if people are using Slack or, different messaging apps?
Yep. They get that this stuff happens all over the place. So Ducalis integrates with all the popular ones like Slack, Discord, Telegram. You can pull ideas straight from those channels into your voting boards. So nothing slips through the cracks.
That's good. Okay, so now we've got all these ideas in one place. But now we got to make some decisions. We got to prioritize. How does Ducalis help with that?
So this is where Ducalis gets really interesting. They go way beyond a simple to-do list. You can build these prioritization frameworks that are super customizable, way more advanced than just ranking things 1, 2, 3.
Oh, interesting. So give me an example. How would you typically prioritize stuff?
So you've probably heard of the RICE model, right? Reach, impact, confidence, effort.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
It's a good starting point. But with Ducalis, you can define your own criteria, whatever's most important for your organization, and you can weight them differently too.
So it's not one size fits all. You can adapt it to how your team actually works.
Exactly. And you can get different people involved in the evaluation process.
Like stakeholders.
Yeah. And you can even assign different criteria and weights based on their roles.
I see. So the sales team might focus on something different than the engineers.
Exactly. Sales might look at revenue potential, while engineering focuses on like technical feasibility or how much effort is involved.
Okay, that's really cool. That's way more holistic, getting all those different perspectives in there. So how does that actually work in Ducalis? Like, how do you do this multi-stakeholder evaluation?
Basically, multiple people can score the same task or idea based on whatever criteria you've set up. So you get a much richer understanding of the priorities because you're incorporating all these different viewpoints. But where it gets really interesting is the alignment feature.
Okay, alignment. Now I'm intrigued. What does that do?
So alignment basically points out the places where people have scored things really differently.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it highlights the areas where there isn't a shared understanding of the value or the effort.
Okay, so it's not about forcing everyone to agree. It's more about like, hey, let's talk about this.
Exactly. It's about sparking a conversation so everyone can get on the same page about what's truly important. And, we actually saw a review from someone who said that this feature led to some really valuable discussions on their team.
Oh, that's great. That's exactly what you want. So it's not just about getting a score. It's about understanding why the scores are what they are.
Yep. And then Ducalis takes it even further. They give you the option to have like a designated facilitator, and that person can actually override scores if they need to.
Oh, wow. So if someone has like a really important strategic insight.
Exactly. Or some critical piece of information that other people might not have. It's about making sure the overall alignment is reflecting the big picture, while still valuing those different perspectives.
I see. So it's not just like a democracy. There's still like some oversight there.
Right.
Okay, so you're not just prioritizing like everything together.
Yeah.
You can do it for different types of work,
Yeah.
right? Like what if you've got new features, bug fixes, technical debt, like all that stuff.
You got it. Ducalis lets you create separate boards for all those different categories. So you could have one for feature requests, one for bugs, one for tech debt.
Okay, keep it all nice and separated.
Right. But here's the cool part. You can then combine the data from all those boards to get a total overview of all your priorities, like across the board.
I see. So you can zoom in and see the details for each category,
Yep.
and then you can zoom out and see the big picture.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think a lot of people listening right now are probably like, okay, this all sounds great, but I am already juggling like a million different tools.
Right. It's exhausting jumping between different platforms all day. So how does Ducalis actually integrate with the stuff that people are already using, like Jira, Linear, all those?
That's a big one, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's where Ducalis really shines. They offer real-time synchronization with all the popular task trackers. Jira, Linear, GitHub, all those.
Okay. And what does that mean in practice?
It means you're not constantly switching tabs, wasting time.
Because everything's connected.
It's all connected. Like
Yeah.
we saw one review from Wendy K, who specifically mentioned the real-time Jira sync and how much time it saved them because they weren't going back and forth between the two platforms.
Mhm.
That's huge. So let's say I've got my priorities all figured out in Ducalis. How do I actually get them into the hands of my developers?
Easy. Ducalis makes it super simple to push those tasks directly into the backlog of your connected task tracker. Like Alan Z talked about how much they loved the GitHub integration and how easy it was to import existing issues.
Oh, nice.
So it's a really smooth handoff from deciding what to build to actually getting it into the development workflow.
Love it. Okay, so now work is underway. But keeping everyone updated on what's happening can be a nightmare. How does Ducalis help with that? Like transparency and communication, all that.
So they have a couple of really cool features. One is automated notifications. Basically keeps people in the loop about the progress of their requests.
I see.
So when a task status changes in your task tracker, Ducalis can automatically send a notification to whoever submitted that idea or voted for it.
So no more like bugging the developers every 5 minutes for an update.
Exactly. And on top of those individual notifications, you can also do automated release notes,
Oh, wow.
which is amazing for keeping everyone in the loop about what's been shipped.
Love that.
Lilia E. mentioned using those in their workflow. So basically, Ducalis aims to be that single source of truth,
Ah,
where anyone can go to see what's happening with their requests.
that's great. And this was something that came up in one of our source transcripts, right? That idea of a single source of truth.
Yep, people really value that.
Okay, here's something to think about. How much better could your team be? How much smarter could your product decisions be if you had a system like Ducalis to help you manage all this stuff?
That's a good question. And if you're interested in learning more, definitely check out Ducalis.io. They usually have free trials, and there are some great case studies on their website. You can see how other teams are using it and how it might work for you.
Awesome.